For 11 years, I told the same joke. Anytime her love life fell apart, every bad date, every man who ghosted her, every "I think he's just not ready," I'd hand her a glass of wine, let her cry it out, and then I'd say the same stupid thing. "You know, if you ever get desperate, I'm right here. Just say the word and I'll marry you." And she'd laugh. Every single time. She'd throw a pillow at my head or flick water at me from the sink and say, "Careful, one day I'm going to hold you to that." I never once thought she meant it. I never once let myself believe I meant it either. Let me back up. Her name is Nora. We met the first week of college, in a laundry room at 2 in the morning, both of us staring at the same broken dryer like it had personally betrayed us. She had a textbook open on the folding table, highlighting something, wearing socks with little cartoon foxes on them. I remember the foxes. I don't know why that's the detail that stuck, but it did. We split the cost of the one machine that actually worked, and we sat on the cold tile floor, waiting for our clothes, and we talked until the sun came up. About nothing. About everything. About whether hot dogs are sandwiches, and whether our professors were secretly the same 3 people in different sweaters. By sunrise, we were friends. By the end of that semester, we were the kind of friends where you don't knock anymore. You just walk in. And that's what we stayed. For 11 years. People asked. Obviously, people always ask, "Are you too?" And we'd wave it off so fast, so in sync, that it became its own little joke. No. God, no. We're basically siblings. She said it. I said it. I think I even believed it, most of the time. Most of the time. Because here's the thing I never told her. There were nights, quiet ones, ordinary ones, where she'd fall asleep on my couch in the middle of a movie, her feet tucked under my leg to stay warm, and I'd sit there frozen, not wanting to move, not wanting the moment to end. And I'd think, "Oh, just that. Oh," and then I'd bury it. Every time. Because Nora was my best friend, and best friends are forever, and boyfriends and girlfriends come and go, and I was not going to be the idiot who traded forever for a maybe. So I made it a joke instead, the marriage thing. Because a joke is a safe place to hide a truth. You can say the most honest thing in the world, and as long as you're smiling when you say it, nobody has to know you meant it. I got very, very good at smiling when I said it. The dating never worked out for either of us. Not really. I had a girlfriend for 2 years, Priya, and she was wonderful. And it ended anyway. And when she left, she said something I've never been able to shake. She said, "You have room in your life for exactly one woman." And she already has it. I told her she was wrong. I told her Nora was just my friend. Priya just looked at me, sad and kind of tired, and said, "I know. That's the problem. She's your friend and you'd still choose her over anyone. Even me." I didn't have an answer. That's how I knew. But I still didn't do anything about it. Because doing something about it meant risking the one relationship in my life that had never, not once, let me down. Nora dated more than I did. Charming men, terrible men, men who looked good on paper and disappeared like smoke. And every time it fell apart, I'd get the call. And I'd show up, and somewhere in the night, glass of wine in her hand, I'd say it. "If you ever get desperate, I'm right here." And she'd laugh. 11 years of laughing. The night everything changed didn't start special. That's the part that gets me. It didn't feel like a night that was about to split my whole life into a before and an after. Her cousin was getting married. Big wedding, string lights, an open bar. One of those venues out in the countryside where the whole place smells like cut grass and somebody's expensive perfume. Nora asked me to be her +1, like she always did, because going to a wedding alone is a special kind of torture and we'd rather suffer nothing together than anything apart. She wore this deep green dress. I'd seen her 1,000 ways over 11 years. Sick, sleepless, crying, laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. In fox socks at 2 a.m. And I still wasn't ready for her in that green dress. I remember she caught me staring and said, "What, is there something on my face?" And I said, "No, you just look nice." And she rolled her eyes and said, "Nice? Wow, be still my heart." And I laughed. And I smiled. And I hid it. Like always. We watched her cousin get married under those string lights. We watched two people stand up in front of everyone they knew and say, "I choose you," out loud, on purpose, forever. And I felt Nora go quiet beside me. Not sad quiet, just still. At the reception, she drank exactly 1 glass of champagne, which for a wedding is basically nothing, and I noticed that too. Usually weddings made her a little wild, a little loose, a little more likely to end the night dancing in her bare feet with her heels swinging from one hand. Not that night. That night she was watching me. I kept catching it. Every time I looked over, she was already looking. I thought maybe she was sad. Another wedding, another reminder, another "when is it going to be me?" So I did what I always do. I leaned over and I said the joke. "Hey, you know the offer still stands, anytime you get desperate." And she didn't laugh. That was the first crack in the world. She just looked at me, steady, calm, not a flicker of a smile. And she said, very quietly, "Do you mean it?" I want to tell you I was smooth. I wasn't. I said something like, "Do I? What?" Some brilliant, articulate response like that. My heart was suddenly doing something violent in my chest, and I couldn't tell if I was about to laugh or throw up. "The joke," she said. 11 years. You've been making the same joke. And I've been laughing at it for 11 years because I was too scared to ask the question I actually wanted to ask." She took a breath. Her hands were shaking a little. I'd never seen Nora's hands shake. "So I'm asking now. Do you mean it? Or is it just a joke?" And every coward instinct I had lit up at once. Say it's a joke. Laugh, play it off. Protect the thing you can't afford to lose. Don't risk 11 years on one honest sentence. I opened my mouth to save myself. And then she reached into that little clutch purse she'd been carrying all night. The one I'd teased her about, because it was so small it could barely hold her phone. And she took out a ring. Not a big ring. Simple, a thin band, a small stone. The kind of ring somebody buys with their own money, quietly, over time, because it means something, not because it needs to look like something. She held it out on her open palm. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't look away from me. Not once. And she said the 4 words that ended 11 years of hiding. Then ask. Then ask me. I need you to understand what went through me in that second. Because it was everything, all at once. I understood that she'd bought that ring. Herself, on purpose. Which meant she'd decided, somewhere, someday, that she wanted this. Wanted me, and she'd carried it into a wedding in a purse the size of my hand, and she'd waited all night for me to be brave. And when I wasn't, she decided to be brave for me. I understood that the joke had never been a joke for her either. That for 11 years we had both been standing on opposite sides of the exact same locked door, each of us certain we were alone in the hallway. I understood that Priya had been right. That there had only ever been room for one woman in my life, and she was sitting in front of me in a green dress with tears on her lashes and my whole future in her open hand. And I understood, with a kind of horror, and then a kind of joy, that if I said one more joke, if I laughed one more time to keep myself safe, I would spend the rest of my life knowing I'd been asked the only question that ever mattered, and I'd flinched. So I didn't flinch. I got down on the grass. There were people around us. I found out later that half her family was watching, that her aunt started crying before I even said anything, but I didn't see any of them. I only saw her. And my voice came out wrecked, barely a whisper, and I said, "Nora, I've been in love with you since a laundry room at 2 a.m. I made it a joke because I was terrified, and I let you laugh at it for 11 years because I thought a joke was the most of you I was allowed to keep. I had to stop. I had to breathe. I don't want the joke anymore. I want the whole thing. I want the fox socks and the 2 a.m. and the rest of it. All of it. Forever." I took the ring from her open palm. My hands were shaking now too. "Marry me, not because you're desperate, because it's you. It was always going to be you." She was crying and laughing at the same time, that impossible thing she does, and she got out one word. Finally. And then, "Yes, God, yes, you idiot." Yes, her aunt was fully sobbing by then. Somebody at the next table started clapping, and then the whole reception was clapping. And the DJ, who had absolutely no idea what was going on, just made an executive decision and put on something slow, and I stood up and pulled her into me, and we danced in the middle of somebody else's wedding to a song neither of us would ever be able to name afterward. She put her face against my neck, and I felt her whisper, so quiet I almost missed it. 11 years. We wasted 11 years being scared. And I whispered back, "No, we didn't. We spent 11 years making sure." We got married 9 months later. Small ceremony. String lights. Because of course string lights. She wore green. Not white, green. The same shade as the dress. Because she said white was for strangers pretending, and she'd never once been a stranger to me. She still has the first ring. The one she bought herself. She keeps it in the little drawer of her nightstand. And every so often I catch her holding it, turning it over in her fingers, and I know exactly what she's thinking about. The purse. The wedding. The 11 years of a locked door and 2 cowards in a hallway. The other night, she fell asleep on the couch in the middle of a movie, feet tucked under my leg to stay warm, the way she's done 1,000 times. And I sat there, frozen, not wanting to move, not wanting the moment to end. And I thought, oh, just that. Oh, except this time I didn't have to bury it. This time I could just lean down and kiss the top of her head, and she stirred and mumbled, "You're staring again." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she smiled without opening her eyes, and said, "Good." So here's what I know now, after all of it. The scariest sentence in the world is the honest one. The one you keep turning into a joke because a joke can't reject you. We spend so long protecting the people we love from the truth of how much we love them, as if the truth is the dangerous thing. It isn't. The silence is the dangerous thing. The silence is what almost cost us everything. She was braver than me. She always was. She's the reason I get to fall asleep next to my best friend every single night, instead of just wishing I could. So if there's someone in your life who you've been hiding a truth from, someone you turned into a joke because you were too scared to make them a question, this is me, whispering it to you across whatever distance we're separated by right now. Ask. Just ask. You have no idea how long they might have been waiting for you to be brave.